The Blindside Podcast is not associated or affiliated with my current employers and is voluntarily recorded and produced on my own time. This episode of the Blindside Podcast contains language that might be offensive to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. This is Blind Meadow Gamer, and you're listening to another episode of the Blindside Podcast. Available on Spotify and all podcasting platforms with the exclusion of Apple and Stitcher. Be sure to follow so you will not miss a single episode. Yo, everybody, what is up? It is Blind Meadow Gamer along with Kaira Supersayan, and it is now time for another episode of the Blindside Podcast. Hey, Kaira, welcome back.
Hey, Blind. Pleasure to be back.
Yep, it's been a very good summer. We've had a very good summer break, and now it's time to go back to school with epic back-to-school adventures. And, Kyra, I'm going to let you kick us off with the very first story.
Okay, this is a short story, but a good one. It was kindergarten. It was 1998, and school had been going for probably a week or two. And then one day, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'd never had this issue before. I just let out a big, I want my mommy. And all the kids just laughed at me. And then 2 weeks later, one of the first graders, we shared the classroom with first graders. It was a kindergarten first grade classroom. Said, Kelsey, why did you say that? I'm like, I don't know. And I never had separation anxiety when it came to school. I had separation anxiety when it came to church. My mother would leave me alone in the church nursery, and she'd be all, Miss Cummins, do you know what your daughter did the whole time you were gone? I was a crier. Now most kids, when you drop them off in preschool, when you drop them off at the nursery, kindergarten, preschool, any of those places, or even daycare, the kid cries for like, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. Nope. Nothing would soothe me after my mother left when I was in the nursery. Not even a passy. So my mom had to volunteer in the church nursery. And ironically enough, that was the same church when I went to preschool. So I got an early taste of education. But no, my back to school story, don't leave 5-year-old me alone. Because apparently kindergarten's more overwhelming than first grade. Not first grade. I'm so sorry. Slip of the tongue. Kindergarten's more overwhelming than preschool. And if I had to guess why it happened, and this probably has nothing to do with it. When I was in preschool, I attended morning preschool unless my mom was substituting, which happened a lot, especially when I was 3. I was used to having the afternoon off. I'm guessing that I wanted my mom because I was used to being at home in the afternoons from being a morning preschool kid. But it was 25 years ago. We'll never know.
Yeah, one of them things. Okay, I'm going to take you back in time to 1988, and my back-to-school story is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, where I went to school, Kyra, I lived there. So,
yeah,
I lived on campus. So, at about the same age of 5, a young blind metal gamer was going to this new place. He didn't know where he was at. New people.
Mm-hmm.
I endured homesickness for about a week. But when I got into my groove, it was all smooth sailing from there.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have a funny story that I would like to share with you guys. Fast forward a few years, in the back to school aspect.
Okay.
We had just gotten back to school when we were out on the playground by the recreation building. Now I had moved up dormitories from the younger boys' dorm to the next level up, where they gave you responsibilities such as chores. They called them dorm duties, but it was the same thing. Chores. You had to do your homework when you got in, stuff like that. You couldn't just laze around in front of the TV. So we were all on the playground, right? And I had to take a restroom break. And naive blind metal gamer, I was about 10. I didn't think. I wasn't thinking straight for some reason. I thought the door to the recreation building was locked.
Oh,
And, well, I went where I thought I wouldn't be seen, right?
right.
Took care of my business. And then the house parent, um, God rest her soul, she passed away 10 years ago.
Uh huh.
Good lady, very good person. She goes, "Blind, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, fuck, I got caught, son of a bitch." And well, I didn't say that, of course, but I'm thinking it, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking, oh, crap. So I haul my ass back over there, and I got aired out. I got my ass chewed out and told, "This door was not locked. You use your brain and you think. You use
Oh.
that brain that you were given and you think about what you do. Are you aware of what you did? I had to use the restroom. You just did your business next to a fire hydrant." I'm like, "Oh
Like
my,"
a dog.
yeah. And so yeah, then of course, you move on. Several years later, I found out someone did the exact same thing I did.
I got another one. I remember it was third grade. This was back when I was starting to have trouble with my mental
Mhm.
health, and my parents were beginning to think something's not right with this child. They knew I had developmental problems back
Mhm.
when I was in preschool because a social worker
Mhm.
intervened, but that's another story. And one day I had a banana for snack, and I went,
Mhm.
and it was snack time came. I went to go get out the
Mhm.
banana. There's mashed banana all over my backpack, and
Oh no!
I was so upset. I went. I started wailing, and the whole class turned around and looked at me. My third grade teacher got so concerned. My third grade teacher rushed over and was like, "Kelsey, what's wrong?" And I pointed to my backpack. She looked inside. She's like, "Oh." So she takes me to the restroom, rinses out my backpack and my folder, which was also covered in banana. And she's
Oh
like,
God!
and she's like,
Oh
"No, don't
shit!
worry. The folder was fine." And she's like, "Kelsey, I know you're upset, but I thought you were hurt. You can't go crying
You
over a
mean
smashed
Kyra?
banana."
Yeah.
So, and that was one of many, many experiences that led me to getting held back in third grade for being a quote unquote crier, which is basically which is basically what Brain from Arthur calls being held back for being not emotionally mature enough to advance.
You mean not emotionally mature? Yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay, I've got another one. It's not really a back to school story.
Uh huh.
I was okay. I'm going to fast forward yet again
Uh
to a few
huh.
years later. I was in the school where I was at had an independent dorm program where you would be in the dorm with another person or group of people. Luckily, I was in the dorm with just one other guy, and you would do your cooking, do your cleaning, do all of your stuff like that on your own. No
Mm
one there would be someone there to help you cook,
hmm. Mm
but
hmm.
the cleaning, your homework, there was no one there. It was all on you.
Uh huh.
And we had MTV too. Remember when that first came out?
I do, but MTV and MTV2 were banned in my house for obvious reasons.
Well, they weren't banned where I was at. So of course we're watching music videos, rocking out, yeah, good metal music videos. And then we hear this very suggestive moaning and groaning.
Uh
And
oh.
and the screen is blurry. I'm like, okay, my mind is thinking young adolescent blind metal gamer is thinking, okay, this must be a more mature music video because it was later at night. It was like
Uh
10
huh.
o'clock. So I thought, okay, maybe they put the mature stuff on later.
Mm hmm.
And you know, we hear the same thing, and my roommate's like, hey, blind metal gamer, let's keep listening to this and see what this is. I'm like, okay.
Oh, oh
And
God.
then he's like, "Oh shit, we just stumbled on adult content," and I was
Oh.
just like, "Oh my god!" And um, we turned it off. I said, "Let's get this off because we might get caught."
Uh huh.
And I said to roommate, "Was that a fluke?" I said, "Let's do this again the next night and just to kind of see
Mm
if
hmm.
this is a fluke, to see if it's some sort of a glitch or something." So we did. and the adult content was doing its thing, and the person on the content made a reference to their, I'll just call it, extracurricular activities
Mm-hmm.
being compared to their favorite band. And my roommate just blurts out of the blue, "Damn, she's only letting me have it." I'm like, roommate, are you even aware of the consequences we could face? He goes, no. I said, I'm watching the door to make sure that thing don't open. If it opens, we're fucked.
Yeah.
And, well, I didn't say that, but I'm, thinking, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, please don't open that door. Don't let that door open. Please, God, no. Don't let a staff member come in. Luckily, we weren't caught. I was like, oh, thank God. So then, like maybe the next week, they apparently somebody at the upper echelons got wind of it and they took it off the air. So the adult content that we had stumbled upon was removed.
Finito.
So yeah, but still the shock of it was like, oh my God. Do you have
That
any stories similar to any other funny stories when you were older in school?
not older in school, but I can tell you there was one. Well, actually, no. When I was older in school, it was more me, more poor Kyra getting picked on for various reasons. What I can tell you was, on a related note, somewhat related note, there's a. You remember Movie Warehouse, the one video store that was better than Blockbuster that we had in town?
Yes, yes, I love that place. Oh my
Oh
God.
God, that place was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a long time ago, I would go and look at the Xbox games because at the age of
Mm-hmm.
10, I had an Xbox. So, I would go check out the latest and greatest games. They
Oh
had
yeah.
an insane collection.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking at this one game. It was the first time I'd ever seen a game with an adult rating, and I didn't understand why.
Was it like M or AO?
I Here's the funny part. For years, I thought it was AO. I looked it up recently. It was an M.
Mm-hmm. Only a step down.
Take a guess to what the game was.
Grand Theft Auto.
No, good guess though. It was the Playboy Mansion simulation game.
Oh dear God.
And I'm like, and I looked at the back of it, and I'm like, I read it, and I'm like, I don't understand. Why is this for adults? And one day I'm picking out games because I'd never heard of Playboy before.
Oh God.
Thank the Lord I hadn't. So I'm at fast forward about a month later, I'd say, and I'm at the store with one of my best friend, with one of my then best friends, and I showed her the game, and I said I want to get this game, but my mom would kill me, but I don't know why I'm not allowed to have it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, she takes one look at the cover, and she's like, you don't want that game, and she explains to me what Playboy is. I'm like,
oh shit.
That's what that is. And then the only reason why I even remember this game is because a few weeks later it was on an episode of Mojo Plays.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And they showed footage from the game, and I'm like, that's all that was in it? I can't believe it. Despite the title, it was a horrible game.
Oh
and
God.
People hated it. And I'm like, thank God. And I love a good simulation game. But I'm like, if I told my mother I wanted to rent a Playboy Mansion game, she would have whooped my ass and into next week.
Yeah, I probably would have got the same thing at that age.
But then again, though, she let 11-year-old me play T for teen games because my sister had access to them. So
yeah, but that's different though. That one game was that was M-rated. That was straight up, for adults.
It should have been an M. Looking back, it should have been an AO, considering the fact it had full nudity in it. But the problem is they put a sensor. An update that had a nudity sensor in it. At that point, the game could have gone from M to teen if they wanted to, but because it was Playboy, they had to keep the M label on it.
Yeah, because of the branding. So how does that have to do with school?
It does. It doesn't. Well, remember, I said it was somewhat related, but not related.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I got kind of a similar story that's not really school related exactly, but
Mhm.
it's somewhat related to school.
Mhm.
Um, and I would, okay, we're going to again jump forward. Back a few years, I was, again, adolescence. It was right before I was preparing to go into the um, pre
Public
independent
school.
dorm. No, into the pre independent dorm.
Oh, okay.
And
Different era. I
yeah,
gotcha.
different era. We're still at the school that I lived
Mhm.
at the school for the blind. So
Mhm.
there was a situation where two students were not allowed to date, and I
Ooh.
thought that the one student couldn't date the other student because of the other student's color.
Ooh.
And I made a comment and called this other house parent a derogatory term. I'll go on and just say it. I called her a prejudiced bitch.
That's not
And
terrible.
my thought was, I told this one student, now please do not tell her. Just between me and you. So what happens?
She
This other
tells her.
student, yep, she goes and tells, right?
Oh
And
no.
they all had a big meeting on. I had to go to the dean of students about it with this other student. The house parent was like, he called me a bitch and said I was prejudiced. Yeah, I did it. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna lie about it. Um, you know, so of course they were developing punishment, for home and for school, because that's how they rolled. You see, for those of you who don't know, if you did a severe enough offense, they could not only punish you at the school, but they could have your parents punish you at home.
We had a similar system when I was at the aforementioned trade school we covered in the personal hell episode, except they couldn't punish you. They could only punish you at home, I believe, if you were under guardianship, if I'm remembering correctly. But that's all from an era I will not, even though it is school related, that I will not discuss in
Yeah.
this episode.
So okay. So anyway, they asked, well, what would be an appropriate punishment? Because
Uh
this was
huh.
my first offense
Uh
of this
huh.
level, and I was like, well, I don't know. So we called my mother. I got, I'm bumming, I gotta tell you something, da, da, da. And I explained what happened, and
Mm-hmm.
I admitted it. I didn't. I fessed up. I manned up. I owned up to my crime and my offense. Well, it wasn't a crime, but my offense. I owned up to my
Mm-hmm.
offense, and she said, "Okay, blind metal gamer, your punishment will be as follows: you cannot rent a video game this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
but do not tell anyone." Basically, she lightened the punishment
Ah.
for because I admitted it. And had I lied about it, the original punishment was going to be a bunch of housework, I think.
Ugh.
So how does it? The point was, I got in trouble and punished at the school, but see, it was different. The discipline was a lot different compared to what Kyra would have had maybe have had happened. Like, do you have any stories about maybe getting in trouble at school?
Oh, I do. I remember there was. I remember. Hmm. I don't remember what got me in trouble in middle school, but I remember getting a severe punishment in middle school. But the worst thing that ever happened was I got so upset at this girl, a classmate that I used to call friend, for not wanting to report a case of sexual harassment and sexual misconduct.
Hmm.
And when she would come forward, she told the school security guard, but she wouldn't. But she also said, "I don't want to go forward with this."
Hmm.
Got so mad at her, called her a couple of bad names. Well, one bad name
Now,
multiple
at
times.
the school, you said you were in middle school. Now,
No,
for
no,
those
this
of
was high
you,
school. You didn't let me finish.
I was going to ask
No, this
you.
was high school, my freshman year.
Okay, now at the high school you went to your freshman year, you didn't have to live there, did you?
No, it was a public school.
Okay, I was just wanting to verify for the listeners. And
Okay, no, this was public school, and this involved a classmate I met the previous my last year of middle school. We were friends well into my freshman year of high school,
hmm
and then one day she tells me she'd been sexually and actually fondled and harassed by one of her boyfriends, and it was a student, and I said, okay. So we talked to the security guard
hmm
separately. He's like, I understand your concern, but it's up to her at the end of the day. I
right.
I got so enraged I may have went a little bit overboard. I
Mm-hmm.
called her a couple of I called her a derogatory name multiple times, and downright tackled her because dogs. Sorry, there's
Mm-hmm.
my neighbor's dogs must be back.
It's all good, the doggos.
And anyway, and I got and because I was doing it out of concern for another student, they said,
Mm-hmm.
"Look, if it were just the cussing, you'd get detention, but you tackled another student." I
Mm-hmm.
got a 1 day suspension. I had to clean the house top to bottom for 1 day
Mm-hmm.
with no TV, no radio, and this was before smartphones, so I didn't have a smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
No, nothing. I wasn't even allowed to read a book. I was allowed to clean and eat. Nothing else.
So basically, your punishment was okay. You got X amount of housework to do. Get it done.
With no breaks. Well, I could take
Oh,
breaks, but if I took a break, it was to rest, not to goof off.
right. And I okay. Now I got another similar story. I'm going to take you back in time, not to the public school era, but again to the blind school era
Mm-hmm.
for this one because it takes place there. We were. It was winter. Just after Christmas break,
Mm-hmm.
so it was cold, and I waited on. This is the same dorm parent that got on me there in the earlier story. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
and no, it wasn't winter; it was Thanksgiving. So it was Thanksgiving break, so of course it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
I had forgot my dirty laundry because again this is where you did your own laundry. My
Mm-hmm.
thought was again in my mind you do your own stuff. It would just be there when I got back. I get back right. It was there,
Right.
and yeah, I had to do it that evening, and I had to write 100 sentences.
Oh boy.
I had to sit at my desk because in the dorms where we lived at, we had a desk, a bed, and a locker and drawers, and a nightstand in these
Yeah.
rooms. There was one for you and one for your roommate or roommate.
Right.
So I had to sit at the desk and write, I will take my dirty clothes home. I will
Mm-hmm.
never forget it. I had to write it by hand 100 times.
Oh, you got the Bart Simpson chalkboard treatment.
And I had to I could not have any playtime, any fun time.
Ugh.
I had to focus on that one task. Now I
Mm-hmm.
could go and eat, obviously.
Yeah.
But after I got back, it was right back to work.
That's
So
exactly that's very similar to my it's very similar to how my household punishment worked.
now you're probably wondering, well, why would you be telling a story about that? Well, it instilled one thing that it instilled in me was good work ethic. When you start
Right.
something, you finish it and learn from your mistakes.
Right.
Um, that's one thing that I definitely learned for the future was do as you're supposed to do. Um, so, do you have any funny back to school stories about maybe when you were older and starting school, your first day of school when you were older?
I can tell you this secondhand because I don't remember this. But I remember this had to have been middle or high school.
Mm-hmm.
Probably middle school. We had as blind can relate, where we're from, we are known to get snow days so severe that they will delay the end of the year and
Mm-hmm.
and and push back the beginning of the year because it gets so bad.
Right.
And my birthday falls at the very end of summer, but early enough to where it and falls at the very end of summer. Usually, but I always missed out on birthday parties in school unless we did a summer birthday party, which only happened when I was in kindergarten. Uh,
Right.
that only happened one time. Um, well, apparently, I must have been so traumatized that I retconned it in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying school starts back on such and such date. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember that happening when I was a kid. My mom's like, "You don't remember when you went back to school on your birthday?" I'm like, "When did that happen?" apparently it happened when I was an adolescent, and my brain
Mm-hmm.
was so embarrassed and so mad that I had to spend my birthday in school that I just forgot about it. And to this day, I cannot remember it. I don't remember if anyone wished me a happy birthday. I don't I don't think I had a party because it was the first day of school.
Yeah.
And I don't remember anything about that birthday because I don't know what year this was, and my mother can't remember. So
Hmm.
my brain's like, what do you mean I celebrated my birthday on the first day of school? What the heck are you talking about, woman?
Now, I do have kind of a similar back to school story
Fun.
about, not really going back, starting school on the birthday, but this is a public school story. So
Uh
we're
huh.
finally going into that era with me.
Uh huh.
We, again, I was going to be a senior. I was transitioning.
Mhm.
So again, this was going to be all new. Going home every day. No house parents, none of that shit. That was in the rearview mirror, baby. I had made the big time, or so I thought, as discussed in our last episode.
Yeah.
Um, so registration come. We get the paper for registration.
Mhm.
It was my birthday that year.
Oh no.
I'm like, oh fuck. So I had to, go and register for school on my B day
I
after I
remember.
went down, and it was the big 18 for me. So
Mm,
it was like I had to go and get, you know, my ID so I could vote, and then I had to go and register for school.
I remember my senior.
But the funny thing was, it was all worth it because of, as we discussed in the last episode, and we might even do a future episode
Mhm.
on graduations. To,
Nice
keep that in
tradition
mind.
going.
Yeah, maybe the end of the
Maybe the
season, maybe.
finale.
Maybe. You'll have to wait and see, listeners and viewers.
Yes.
So had to, register on my B day, which, new experience for me because usually at the other school, we would register about maybe the first or second week of August. What we would usually do is I'd have to go back on that Sunday, the Sunday before classes would start. I would
Mhm.
go in, I would get my dorm assignments. They would have to check our heads, literally. The nurses would have to
Mhm.
check our heads, and then we would give them our info. We'd get our dorm assignments, go get unpacked, get our beds made, get our roommates, get acquainted, get our
Mhm.
schedules. Now, I would like to lead into another story I have, if I may.
Go ahead.
Um, there was one, I believe it was my either sophomore or junior year.
Yeah.
Again, back at the school where I lived, at the School for the Blind. Um, I got my schedule, and we were all. It was my sophomore year because I remember that night very vividly. We had hamburgers the first night back, and we called them bouncing burgers because they would bounce on your plate, boing, boing, boing. And we all were talking about our classes, about our teachers, and there was one who was very, very strict, and this teacher was in elementary, and then this person moved up to middle. We were like, oh, we all got this teacher for this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Because this teacher didn't take any shit. If you pissed her off, you'd know. Believe
Yeah.
me, you would know about it. Um, and we were just trying to figure out the dreadful periods that we would have, and the dreadful periods were the ones with this really strict teacher. The happy periods were the ones without this strict teacher, like gym class. And I got a funny gym story here after Kaira tells the next story. But the funny part of this was we had to get used to the school food again, and
Mhm.
everybody was bouncing their burgers on their plates. Do you have any funny school stories related to food and
I
schedules?
but oh man, I remember. Not. Hmm. Let's see where to start. Where could I go? I remember. I remember. I remember. There were multiple times in high school I had to explain to my mom, "Mom, I ran out of lunch money within 2 weeks because we had an a la carte system or a pay for one meal system in high school because we
Uh-huh.
had guess which stupid person, guess who the idiot was who ran out of lunch money and money quickest was. That was
You.
me.
So explain the a la carte system and the other system for those who might not be familiar.
Okay, so the way it was, it the way it went was you could purchase a hot meal,
Hmm.
that included everything that was included in lunch for the day and a drink, which would be water or milk
Hmm.
for the day. I don't remember what the a la carte system was. I think what happened was I was buying more than one carton of milk or something, or buying a soft drink instead of a water or milk, and so
Hmm.
that's what was causing me to run out of money.
That was depleting your funds. Gotcha.
Regardless, my mom was like, you're not buying the fancy stuff with your lunch anymore. You're gonna spend your lunch money on lunch, not the fancy stuff that's optional. Well, my butt got. I've always Fun fact about me. I've always been irresponsible with money, and I'm still struggling with that now that I'm 30. But when I was a teenager, it was awful, awful,
Oh
awful,
yeah. Oh
awful.
yeah. Okay, so now I do kind of have a funny lunchtime story at public school lunch story for you guys.
Okay.
Yes. Now again, this is back when I went to the public school, so again, I didn't live there. And when I was there, you could either buy what they offered on the menu, or you could buy Papa John's pizza by the slice. So I would buy the pizza anytime I had the option. I would buy pizza, and I would buy strawberry milk.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
then,
strawberry milk.
oh yes, and it was like they were like, you're gonna, they were like, man, you're gonna, that's all you're gonna eat. I'm like, yeah, that's all I like at the time. But I mean, it wasn't a bad deal, but kind of an interesting school story with food. Would you like to share another school story?
Another school. Okay, so I can tell you this is college related, which is the most
All
recent
right.
school era in my life. I thought I'd mastered street
Mhm.
school, until I went to college on
Mhm.
campus versus community college, which,
Mhm.
if you've done both, there's a drastic difference between dorm life and off campus life.
Mhm.
And I got overwhelmed. I went in too deep, goofed off a
Mhm.
little too much, and I was in a challenging career. I was in a challenging major that I had to
Mhm.
drop at a later point in my school career.
Mhm.
It got to the point where I was so overwhelmed. I was on academic probation. Fast forward a few years later, because of math and programming, I was one of those majors.
Oh boy.
Yeah, biggest mistake of my life. Cost me two semesters, not 2 semesters. Like it took me 2 semesters to climb my way up.
Mhm.
Fast forward to my last 2 semesters on campus. I'm checking my grades at my dad's when I'm just chilling, celebrating Christmas a couple weeks early, because my dad's in another state, and I need to spend time with him a couple
Mhm.
times a year. And I'm looking and I'm like, what the fuck is this? It was a good what the fuck, I promise.
Okay.
There was a note in my transcript that said that said dean's list. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
Mhm.
Turns out I'd done so good
Mhm.
those last 2 semesters. I made dean's list not once but twice. If I had stayed a third semester and did the exact same shit all over again, I would have gotten the honor called the dean's award.
Can we get a hell yeah for that one?
Yeah, I mean, me, the learning disability kid, went
Did
from
it.
academic probation to dean's list twice in a year and a half, and just under 2 years.
All right, I do kind of have a college related story,
Okay.
so I can kind of match you on it. But now mine's a little different. My
Mm-hmm.
college experience wasn't the same. See, I didn't even make a day.
Mm.
Okay, yeah. So I got moved in. Ironically enough, yesterday was the oh my god, 8-year anniversary of when I moved in
Uh huh.
to my dorm for college. I was going to go to a community college, but I was going to stay on the main campus. Got moved in. I only had one piece of assistive tech.
Uh
Well, thank you to a certain, anyway.
huh.
Yeah. Uh, so I get to class, and they were just so unaccommodating. I'm
Yeah.
like, what in the hell is this? I didn't say that, of course. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, go to the, where I need to go, get the letter I need, and come back. So I go to get what I need. The front desk person goes,
Mm-hmm.
blind, you got anything better to do? Really? I'm thinking, really, bitch? I didn't say that, of course, but I'm thinking it in my mind. So I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. I went on my way. Um, so then that night, I'm looking at my syllabus in my dorm room. For those of you who don't know, a syllabus is a piece of paper, or they may do it electronically, or both, where it has your assignments and what they're going to cover in the class.
Yeah, it's basically an outline. It's a fancy word for outline.
Right. So I'm looking at my outline, and I'm like, okay, this is not going to get any easier. It's going to get more challenging. I don't have what I need. I better go now. I better
Yeah.
bail now.
Yeah.
And I did. That night, my family came, packed me up, got me the hell out of there. But again, what life lesson did I learn? I
Hmm?
learned that, okay, that one door closed, that door definitely closed in my face. And
Yeah.
ironically enough, um, the major I was going to go in was business. Let's just say I listened to some wrong advice
Yeah.
from someone. Yeah, anyway. Um, but that door closed, and maybe that was a good thing. Looking,
I've got it.
maybe
Go ahead.
that was a positive, and I didn't see it at the time because at that time my thought was, "Oh my God, I just got fucked over. What am I going to do?" Luckily, things turned out great for me, which maybe in a future episode we'll update. We might have some stories maybe about that later. But
Yeah.
the point was, it happened for a reason.
Yeah.
There was a
I
purpose behind it.
Speaking of outlines, I've got a funny one. New one. Back in my community college days, I was taking a class completely online, and I had it
Hmm.
took some getting used to for online classes. They nearly got me kicked out of school because I was just
Hmm.
so bad at them at first.
Hmm.
And I'm looking at some documents for a class, and I
Hmm.
realized, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. This isn't related to our class. What the fuck is this?
Now, for those who may not know or may not be aware, can you kind of explain how the online classes differ from an in-person class?
An online class. Oh God, where do I even start? Basically, it's sink or swim. You do all the work, and you don't have a professor checking in on you. If you get in trouble, it's up to you to say to your professor, "Hey, I'm struggling. I need help."
So, in other words, you have to be your own advocate.
Not only be your own advocate, you gotta log in at least 5 days a week to make sure you are keeping up because
Hmm.
you don't know when stuff is going to come up in that class. Your class, it's all online. There is no going to school. There is nothing. Your class is logging in. That's all it is. And it's
Right,
scary.
and like I hear or I watch and listen to all these commercials. Online classes, do it when you want. There's a catch. There's got
There's
to
a
be a
catch.
catch.
You got to have a certain mindset and discipline to do it. But anyway, the point
Hmm.
is, I was looking over the outline and the course calendar and
Uh huh.
every other detail of the class. I do it the first night a class opens. And not only is the outline completely wrong, the
Hmm.
course calendar is wrong. And then I find another issue. So I emailed the professor, and this is where it gets funny. He's
Oh
like,
God.
"Egads, I uploaded the wrong syllabus."
Oh no, he. Uh oh,
And so
he screwed up.
this is one of 3 emails I have to send him in one day, and he's like, "Okay, this is uploaded, this is uploaded, and this is uploaded." And to the student who emailed me today, you know who you are. You're a shooting star. Thank you. I need a Mountain Dew or a nap or both.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Teach.
I met the man
Hey,
a couple times.
if
He's
if
just
if a professor, mystery professor, if you're watching or listening to this, you're the
I'm gonna
man.
I'm gonna name drop him in case he is listening.
Do it.
Oh shoot, I forgot his last name. Professor Tim, Tim Birch. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Mr. Tim Birch, if you're listening, thank you for giving me some of the funniest, newest days of my community college days. You rock. You rock. I really miss your classes, even if they were some of the most intense I've ever went through.
All right, now I got another story for everybody. A senior story, not college, but senior year of high school story.
The
Kind of
public
a
school era.
yes, we're going back to the public school era for this one. And I do want to kind of share this because there was one teacher that I had who was just awesome. He was the chorus teacher, and he did very very good. With me and making sure I had what I needed, and had large print materials, and I could keep up with the class. And so it became the end of the year. It was prom season. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which again we'll go into more detail, but for this story, it was prom season, right? I didn't have a
Right.
tux. He let
Oh.
me borrow my tux. He let me borrow my chorus tux for the
Mm-hmm.
prom. Now that was all. That's not only saved me a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
but I looked damn good on that dance floor. So, Mr. Brent Merritt, if you're watching and listening, you're the man, brother. I still
Nice.
remember that. You are awesome. So, okay. With that being said, it's about time to wrap her up. Do you have anything in closing you'd like to see, Kyra, before we sign off?
Uh,
Maybe kind of a advice or something for the new school year, and to students who are going to be graduating this coming year, and to those who are just starting out this year on any level.
okay, so where do I start? Okay, you know what? This is a new year. Enjoy it while you can, especially if you're a senior, or especially if you're entering college or graduating from college. Basically, no matter what stage in your school career you are, whether it be elementary, middle, high, or college, or anything in between,
Hmm.
enjoy it while you can, because I miss those. I miss those school days. Do I miss being bullied every day in middle and high school? No.
Mm-mm.
Do I miss being lonely in college? No. But I miss the socials part of it. I miss having something different to do every day of the week. I miss hanging out in the cafeteria, talking to people. I miss all the good parts of school. And if I could go back with the knowledge this 30-year-old brain has, I do it. But obviously, we humans have not mastered time travel yet. Maybe the
Nope.
aliens that uncovered in Area 51 can help us. But
Maybe.
that's a conspiracy theory for another day. Anyway, my point is, enjoy life while you can, and remember, just because things may be bad now, it's not forever. It's not forever, forever, and before you know it, you're gonna be a Squidward, and you're gonna want those glory days back. So be young, enjoy it, and guess what? Just because you're not succeeding academically, doesn't mean it's not possible. Anything's possible if you put your mind to it.
Yes, I too would like to kind of say some advice for those who might be starting out or preparing to graduate this year. Just as Kyra said, enjoy it while you got it, and love the struggle. I mean, if someone comes up to your face and says they hate you or whatever, don't be a jerk or be a douchebag. Just say, all right, and just walk on and do you. That's all you
Exactly.
can do. And to kind of close out here, I'm going to quote one of my favorite pro wrestlers, the late great Scott Hall Reg Ramon. Um, good times don't last, but bad guys do. Um, Very good quote there, and it's true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do. I mean, think about it. It's true. So, to those of you who are going into school for the first time, be at whatever level, enjoy it while you got it. And for those of you who are going to be exiting later this year or next year earlier, enjoy that too, because you never know what's going to carry on in life. All right. So, Kaira, do you kind of want to give everybody a bit of a hint as to what we might be doing in the next episode?
Oh shoot! I can tell you what we might be doing at the end of the season. You and I actually have not discussed what we might be doing in the next episode. We have ideas for March. We have ideas for the end of the season. Uh, we have ideas for October because October is spooky season. And I can think of at least one story I want to share in October.
Yep.
But next month is, what should we call it? Our mystery round, because somebody forgot to tell me again.
Well, we might, and this is maybe, we can't confirm yet.
Nope.
We might have someone special on the podcast.
Ooh, how fun. We always love guests. Let's just remember, when we have guests, guys, everything goes out the window. It's an everything but the kitchen sink fight, and we're all fighting for attention. You have been warned.
Yep, it's going to be pretty cool. So, all right, with that being said, I want to thank Kaira for joining me for another episode of the Blindside Podcast. As always, this will be on all major platforms, YouTube, Spotify, etc. So, until next time, for Kaira Supersayan, I've been your host, Blind Metal Gamer, saying, so long, everyone.
Stay golden, y'all.
And peace out.
Hey, Blind, we're still live.
I'm working on it. Thank you for listening. This has been another episode of the Blindside Podcast. You can find the Blindside Podcast on a plethora of platforms, including Spotify, YouTube, Pocket Cast, Castbox, TuneIn Radio, and much more. Be sure to follow on Spotify so you will not miss a single episode.